President telling us that we were experiencing a tantrum. And today that tantrum is a mountain. As we set course, they said that we would return to the Democratic Party days away from the election. Mr. President, Madam Vice President, we are 27 days away from the election. And today, proof that we're never going to return to the despicable leadership that you have modeled this past year. And
just as in previous eras, we see the collective forces of white supremacy gathering to demonize armed resistance to oppression, white supremacy, genocide, and European barbarism. Here we are again, this time with the black face of white supremacy, Kamala Harris, repeatedly debunked hospital lies, rape allegations, always the prelude to every mass lynching in the United States of America, once again being deployed by white supremacists, this time to justify the mass lynching of the Palestinian people. The ignominious, infamous Kamala Harris and Joe Biden will go down in history as modern-day Nazis.
Look, I know y'all tired of me talking about Jill Stein. Look, I'm tired of seeing her on my timeline. And since y'all tired of me talking about her, let me just pass the camera over to somebody else who can talk about it.
What up, y'all? It's Booker Squared here. Yeah, so Jill Stein, the politicking cicada, aka the Houdini heifer who only shows up every 4 years to try to interfere in an election, she does not care about winning. She's made it very clear that she doesn't want to win. She wants 5% of the votes so she can get federal funding for the next election in 2028. She ain't trying to save nobody right now. She's not playing cap and save a hoe for y'all. She's just being a weak-ass bitch. Everybody is tired of her because she's been coming after other third parties who are actually doing the work, like Working Families Party, which is a party of brown and black people who are actually working up the ballot at the state, local, and federal level to try to make change. Yeah, she shit-talked them, probably because, unlike her, they are actually doing what they are supposed to do. So y'all need to quit falling for her grift. Thank you very much.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. We have more terrible news for Kamala Harris, okay? Because like I've been telling you guys, Kamala is losing everybody, okay? The traditional voters of the Democrat Party are rejecting Kamala Harris in mass, okay? And the Democrats, historically speaking, have gotten the far left vote, okay? However, this time around, the far left is deciding that they're going to abandon Kamala Harris. In fact, they've created a whole group, a whole movement titled Abandon Harris because they feel like Kamala Harris and the Democrats aren't far left enough, which I know is something that is really hard to imagine the Democrat Party, which is super far left, not being far left enough. But unfortunately, we do share a country with communists, okay? And these communists are mainly upset with Kamala Harris over being too pro-Israel when it comes to this war between Israel and Hamas, okay? And that has led them to mobilize voters against Kamala Harris, to not vote for her. Now, this mainly is important in swing states like Wisconsin and Michigan. Well, why is that? It's because Wisconsin and Michigan have significant Arab/Muslim voters, a significant Arab/Muslim population that typically votes Democrat. But if they don't vote Democrat, then that could affect the outcome of the election, because we know that Kamala Harris desperately needs to keep all the so-called Rust Belt states, Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania. She needs to keep those states, the blue wall, so to speak, in order to have a chance of winning. And this is a big deal because just today, I told you guys that Trump has basically officially flipped Michigan. I've been talking about Michigan a lot lately because, again, the polls have indicated that Trump is gaining momentum in that state very quickly, fast, and he's finally flipped the state in the polling averages, okay, which means that he's probably up significantly considering how Trump tends to underperform in the polls. And with this endorsement of the Green Party candidate, Jill Stein, who is a far leftist, by the Abandon Harris group, which is composed mainly of Democrat voters who want to abandon the Democrat Party, that spells disaster for Kamala Harris based on what we've seen historically happen in the presidential elections, mainly in 2016, when Jill Stein was basically a spoiler candidate that stopped Hillary Clinton from being able to win that election. Take a look.
A progressive campaign group in Michigan is shifting their support away from the Democratic ticket, putting Democrats' hopes for a victory in the swing state in jeopardy. Abandon Harris, a group critical of the vice president, has endorsed Green Party candidate Jill Stein, with specific intention to remove support from the Democratic Party.
We need to be clear about what our goals are. We are not in a position to win the White House. But we do have a real opportunity to win something historic. We could deny Kamala Harris the state of Michigan.
The group argues the Biden-Harris administration has abandoned progressive policies. Their endorsement of Stein is seen as a signal of disillusionment from the party's left-wing base and may affect Democratic turnout. The endorsement comes from a large demographic of primarily Muslim Americans in Michigan, citing anger at the Democratic Party for supporting Israel in the war with Hamas. Trump also has sided with Israel throughout his entire 2024 campaign, recently saying he is Israel's protector. A recent poll in the region shows 40% of Muslim voters backed Stein, while Trump and Harris trail behind at 18% and 12% respectively. Michigan is home to one of the largest Arab communities in the United States. Stein, a Jewish longtime progressive and Green Party candidate with anti-Israel sympathies, previously ran for president in 2012 and 2016. While her progressive platform includes environmental advocacy, universal health care, and economic reform, she is not without controversy. In past elections, Stein has been accused of being a spoiler candidate by some Democrats, who argue that her campaigns drew away votes from the Democratic Party, ultimately aiding Republican victories. Stein has defended her role, stating that voters deserve more options beyond the two-party system and that the Democratic Party must be held accountable to progressive values. The endorsement could have an effect on the election in Michigan in a race that is already tight. Stein's support may actually be significant enough to be noticed. When she last ran in 2016, Trump's victory margin was smaller than total Stein votes in key swing states.
Wow. So you see that, you heard that. 40% of Muslim voters in Michigan are going for Jill Stein. 18% are going for Trump, and 12% are going for Kamala Harris. That is a big deal. I cannot overstate how devastating those numbers are for Kamala Harris because, again, this election in some of these states could be very close. And those margins are certainly going to matter on election day. Now, this has created a whole lot of woke on woke conflict, right? As you guys saw at the beginning of this video, you have Jill Stein and her VP essentially accusing anybody voting for Kamala Harris of supporting white supremacy, right? Supporting the white supremacists in blackface, which I find to be hilarious, okay? I find it very funny when the woke left turns against the Democrats and starts to use the same type of insults that Democrats try to use against Republicans, right? I mean, this is what's currently happening right now. And Democrats are currently panicking for good reason, okay? Because you have MSNBC now covering the Jill Stein problem for the Democrat Party and the fact that she could basically ruin Kamala's chances of winning. So without further ado, let's get into Joe Scarborough and Mika Brzezinski, Democrat Party propagandists, react to Jill Stein potentially spoiling the presidential race for Kamala Harris and Democrats.
Presidential candidate Jill Stein earlier this month on the Breakfast Club radio show in New York, unable to answer correctly how many members are in the House of Representatives. Let's bring in...
She's only 150 off.
Oh, my God. Let's bring in editor-at-large at Newsweek, Tom Rogers. His latest piece is entitled, Jill Stein Blew It for Hillary Clinton. Will she do the same for Harris?
Well, I mean, let's be fair. Jill Stein would not be the first woman to blow it for Hillary Clinton, right? I think that title belongs to Monica Lewinsky, to be honest with you.
Let's start there. Will she?
Well, all the focus went off of third-party candidates when RFK Jr. dropped out, but
Right.
There's real peril there for Kamala Harris in terms of what remains. Jill Stein was responsible for Hillary Clinton not making it to the White House. Her margin, say in Michigan, was 50,000 votes, and Trump only won by 10,000 votes there. And the whole Trump math is that we know Trump has a ceiling, whether it's 47%, 48%. So he needs to have somebody siphon off votes from the Democratic candidate in order to win by plurality. And Jill Stein being on the ballot in all the swing states but Nevada is really in a position when we know that the swing states are going to come down to 1-2% margins.
Yeah. Hey, so Tom, just to talk about how this has really changed American history, especially this century, without Ralph Nader taking a couple of percentage points from Al Gore in 2000, and Jill Stein taking a couple of percentage points from Hillary Clinton in 2016, Democrats would have won the Electoral College. Well, they won the popular vote 7 of the last 8, but minus those two, like third-party spoiler candidates, no Republican would have been elected president since 1992.
Absolutely right. And it's not only the Stein threat, but Cornel West is on the ballot in Wisconsin and Michigan, North Carolina and Georgia. And so there's a double threat there. There's also a Libertarian candidate on all the swing state ballots. Unclear who a Libertarian candidate pulls from. Gary Johnson, the Libertarian candidate in 2016, actually polled more than Jill Stein did. But we do know that Biden in 2020 was able to actually increase his margin while Trump's margin stayed the same as 2016, meaning Biden's increased margin over Trump probably came off the back of not having Stein on the ballot in 2020 and getting that share of third-party votes.
Yeah, so again, that's a good point, right? In the sense that in 2016, when you had those left-wing third parties on the ballot, Democrats lost, Hillary lost, and then, you know, when they were not on the ballot in 2020, and I think more than that happened in 2020, to be honest with you, but that probably factored into it when it comes to the third parties not being on the ballot, like Jill Stein not being on the ballot. Yeah, that definitely helped out Democrats, right? But this year, they have a double threat, maybe a triple threat, because the Libertarian probably will pull some votes from Trump, but the Libertarian candidate, I believe, is like super woke, right? Like super far. So he's not really getting any conservative votes, right? He may get some woke Libertarians, but I don't think that anybody voting for the Libertarian candidate is really a Trump voter, right? Or somebody that if the Libertarian wasn't on the ballot, they'd be voting for Trump, right? I'm not sure if that's necessarily the case, okay? But I am sure that if Cornel West wasn't on the ballot or if Jill Stein was on the ballot, then those voters probably would be likely to go to Kamala Harris over Trump. And that's a problem, right? So it's not just Jill Stein, but it's also Cornel West as well, too. And they have refused to drop out of the race, despite the fact that Democrats allegedly have approached them about dropping out of the race. But they're saying, no, we're going to stay in because we explicitly want to undermine the Democrats. We explicitly want to stop Kamala Harris from winning. They don't care about the, oh, well, you're allowing Trump to win thing. They don't give a damn about that at all, right? Which is the part that I love the most about it, right? They cannot be talked out of it with Trump derangement, right? So they're saying, nope, we're going to stick to our guns. We're going to stick to our principles. We don't like Kamala. Therefore, we're going to undermine her. Like, we're actively going to take her campaign because we don't want Democrats to win because they're not far left enough.
Help me understand, and our viewers understand, that what is the point of the third-party candidates? What are they trying to represent? Why are they there? You know, I ran in 2004, and I decided to run in the primaries. I didn't think I was going to be president because we was right after 9/11. But I wanted to be in the debates. I wanted to bring out issues that I felt would not be discussed. What is their point of running? They were not in the debates because they're not running in the primaries. So, I mean, what is the point other than they end up messing up someone that may be closer to their politics than the other?
Well, I think you asked the money question. I don't think there is a point other than to be a spoiler. They make the argument that they represent viewpoints that need to be on the ballot to give voters a choice, even though they know they have no chance whatsoever of winning or no chance of even getting any electoral college votes. But it's very clear in the case of Jill Stein in 2016, the Russians, through their social media efforts, were very much promoting her. It's very clear that both Stein and West have benefited when it comes to signature collection to get on the ballot in swing states, that Republican-connected Trump lawyers have been involved in their efforts, and Republican money looks like it's at the heart of getting West on the ballot. So these are spoiler efforts. And anybody who thinks about voting third party, whether they're voting because they don't think Harris is progressive enough, they don't like her position on Gaza, they think because of fracking she's not green enough, all they are doing is electing Donald Trump president. And anybody who knows, a neighbor, a friend, anybody who says, I don't like either candidate, I think I'm going to vote third party, let them know they are electing Donald Trump if they do that.
The piece is...
I think they're already aware of that, right? I think they've already baked in the Trump derangement, right? I think they already are aware that, okay, it's likely that we're just going to help Trump, right? But they don't care. Again, that's the part about this that I love, because these people are essentially accusing Jill Stein of being a Russia plant, right? This is what they always do, okay? When there's a candidate in the race they don't like, they say, well, this person is a Manchurian candidate for Russia, right? This is Putin's puppet, okay? And Putin is so anti-Democrat party, right? He'll do anything to stop the Democrats from winning, right? So, you know, it's the same old song and dance that they always do, okay? When there's somebody in a race they don't like, they smear them as some type of foreign agent, some operative, whatever, right? But the truth is that, hey, Jill Stein is running based off what she believes, which is that the Democrats aren't far left enough, which, again, is hard to imagine. But, you know, that is the reality about politics. And it's just so funny how Democrats show you time and time again how much they hate democracy. This is democracy. What they're doing is democracy. This is a part of democracy. You have the right to vote for a third-party candidate, to consider other choices. It's not just Democrats or Republicans. And at the end of the day, hey, if you can't get those votes of the people who are voting for third-party candidates, then it is what it is.
Online now for Newsweek. Editor-at-Large Tom Rogers, thank you very much for coming on the show this morning. We appreciate it. And that does it for us this morning. We'll see.
Yeah, so again, clearly MSNBC is not happy, which means that the Democrat Party is not happy. And they have good reason to not be happy, okay? Because again, Trump now is basically up in Michigan, which is one of these states that, again, is going to be a big factor in the election. It's a big factor when it comes to the abandoned Harris vote. And, you know, it's one thing if Kamala was up, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 points in Michigan, it wouldn't be that big of a deal, okay? But since Trump is already basically winning in Michigan, that makes this an even bigger deal, because it indicates that Kamala Harris has an uphill battle in regards to actually winning that state. And if that state goes red, then it's probably likely that Wisconsin will go red and Pennsylvania will go red, which means that Trump could sweep the Rust Belt, right? So that is currently what is happening, okay? And like I said, the closer it gets to the election, the worse it is getting for Kamala Harris. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.